The Menglong case finally exposed. Forensic leaks reveal shocking discoveries. The night it all began looked exactly like the nights before it: quiet, ordinary, almost forgettable. And that was the first lie. Rain traced thin silver lines down the windows of the private medical facility, blurring the city lights into soft halos that seemed to pulse like a nervous heartbeat. Inside, silence didn't rest, it hovered. The kind of silence that knows something has already gone wrong. This was the same silence that had followed Menglong's name since the first whispers spread online. The same silence fans felt when statements contradicted themselves. The same silence officials tried to package as closure. But silence, like truth, never stays buried for long. And now, at last, the case that refused to rest was breathing again. The leak that shattered the narrative. It started the way most dangerous truths do, not with a press conference, not with a confession, but with a file. A single encrypted folder surfaced on a private forum used by investigative journalists and forensic analysts. No sender. No explanation. Just a timestamp and a name that made seasoned reporters sit upright in their chairs. YM. Post-incident analysis. Within minutes, the file spread like wildfire through back channels, its contents too precise to be fake, too detailed to be coincidence. These were not rumors. These were not fan theories. These were forensic records. Autopsy notes that had never been released. Toxicology results that contradicted official reports. Photographs marked confidential and dated weeks after the case was supposedly closed. And suddenly, the story everyone thought they knew began to rhyme with something darker, something familiar from before. The body tells a different story according to the official narrative. The cause had been sudden complications.
Vague. Clean.
Convenient. But the leaked forensic summary told another tale. Microfractures along the left rib cage that didn't align with the reported incident timeline. Bruising patterns inconsistent with accidental injury. Traces of a sedative compound that was never listed in the medical report and shouldn't have been present at all. One forensic note stood out, highlighted in red. Physiological stress indicators suggest prolonged distress prior to loss of consciousness. Prolonged. Not sudden. Not accidental. The body, it seemed, had been trying to speak all along. A scene reconstructed in shadows. Forensic reconstruction specialists weighed in anonymously as the leaks spread. Using the data, they began piecing together a scene far removed from the calm image the public had been given. A locked room that wasn't locked from the inside. Security cameras that glitched at precisely the wrong moment. A time gap 18 minutes unaccounted for that had been dismissed as a system error. 18 minutes is an eternity when something is being hidden. And just like earlier stories in this unfolding saga, patterns began to repeat themselves. Missing footage. Conflicting testimonies. A rush to declare the matter resolved before the questions could multiply. It rhymed with every cover-up fans had seen before. Different verse. Same chorus. The hand that signed the report. Perhaps the most chilling revelation wasn't what the forensic leak showed, but who approved the final report. Buried in the metadata was a digital signature belonging to an official who had previously overseen two other high-profile sudden incident cases in the entertainment industry. Both closed quickly. Both quietly. Both still debated in hushed tones years later. The same pen. The same language. The same hurry to move on. Once is coincidence. Twice is concerning. 3 times becomes a pattern no amount of public silence can erase. And suddenly, the story no longer felt isolated. It felt orchestrated. Fans noticed the cracks. Long before the leaks, fans had sensed something was wrong. They noticed deleted posts, unanswered messages, a final appearance where Menglong's smile didn't quite reach his eyes. The way colleagues spoke in fragments, carefully choosing words that revealed nothing yet hinted at everything. Now, those moments replayed differently. That last interview wasn't just tiredness. That long pause wasn't just emotion. That silence afterward wasn't grief, it was fear. The story was rhyming backward, each earlier scene gaining new meaning in the echo of what had been hidden. The chemical that shouldn't exist. The toxicology findings were the turning point. A compound known to induce temporary paralysis, colorless, nearly undetectable, metabolizing quickly unless specifically tested for. A substance sometimes used in controlled medical environments. Never listed in Menglong's treatment plan. Yet there it was. Traces embedded deep enough to suggest exposure well before hospitalization. Which begged the question no official wanted to answer. Who had access? And why was this never disclosed? Whispers from inside the industry. Within hours of the leak, anonymous voices began to speak. A former assistant, a security contractor, a medical staffer who claimed protocols were overridden that night from above. None used names. None needed to. Their stories overlapped in unsettling ways. Instructions to stand down. Orders to delay emergency calls. Documents rewritten after signatures were already in place. Each testimony rhymed with the next, forming a grim melody of control, compliance, and quiet obedience. The moment everything changed, then came the photograph. Time-stamped, geotagged, undeniable. It showed a detail that contradicted the official timeline entirely, a medical device connected hours earlier than reported. A device only used under specific conditions. Conditions never mentioned in public records. Experts called it the smoking gun. Fans called it heartbreak. The internet called it justice knocking at a door that had been shut too long. Why now? The question lingered heavier than the evidence itself. Why were these leaks surfacing now? Some speculated guilt. Others revenge. A few suggested a conscience that could no longer stay quiet. But those who had followed every chapter of this saga noticed something else. The timing rhymed with another anniversary. Another case reopening. Another name trending again after years of forced silence. Truth, it seemed, was moving in waves. The silence that followed official responses came fast and hollow. Unverified. Taken out of context. Under review. The same phrases. The same deflection. The same tired script. But this time, the public wasn't listening the way they used to. Because once a story starts to rhyme too perfectly with every injustice before it, denial becomes noise. An ending that isn't an ending. The Menglong case is not closed. Not anymore. Forensic leaks have cracked the surface, but what lies beneath is deeper, darker, and far more uncomfortable than anyone expected. Every discovery echoes a question that refuses to fade. If this was hidden so carefully, what else was? And as the story continues to unfold, one thing is clear: the truth may have been delayed, but it was never destroyed. It was only waiting for the right moment to speak. And now that it has, the silence will never sound the same again. The file didn't just exist, it waited. Hidden beneath layers of encryption, it lingered in the dark corners of the internet like a sealed confession, breathing softly, counting time. Those who later examined the metadata would notice something chilling. The folder had been opened and closed dozens of times before it was finally released, as if someone kept hovering over the truth, unable to decide whether to let it live or die. When it finally surfaced, it did so without ceremony. No announcement. No warning. Just a quiet drop into a forum where curiosity is sharper than fear. And in seconds, the silence cracked. Screens lit up across continents. Coffee went cold in newsrooms. Anonymous analysts stopped mid-sentence. Because the name stamped across the file wasn't just familiar, it was dangerous. Menglong. The leak moved differently from rumors. It didn't scream. It stood still, heavy with detail, calm in a way that suggested confidence. Whoever released it wasn't guessing. They were done hiding. The opening document was labeled simply, Initial Observations. No dramatic language. No accusations. Just measurements, timestamps, clinical phrasing that felt almost cruel in its restraint. The kind of restraint used by people who know the truth doesn't need decoration. But as readers scrolled, that restraint became unsettling. There were time discrepancies, small at first. A minute here, 2 minutes there. Then a gap, so wide it felt like a swallowed scream. A section marked Data Unavailable stretched across a crucial window, and beside it sat a comment that froze everyone who saw it. System access overridden manually. Manually. Not a glitch. Not a malfunction. A choice. The forum exploded, but the file remained unmoved, as if daring anyone to challenge it. Analysts reconstructed the timeline again and again, only to arrive at the same conclusion. The official story could not physically coexist with these records. It was like trying to rhyme a lie with truth that simply wouldn't fit. Then came the attachments. Photographs stripped of faces, focused instead on angles, shadows, edges most people would never notice. The corner of a bed rail bent inward. A monitor repositioned twice within an hour. A wrist mark faint enough to be dismissed by anyone not trained to see it. But those trained eyes saw everything. One anonymous forensic specialist wrote a single sentence beneath the image set. "These are not the marks of an accident. These are the marks of interruption." That word echoed everywhere. Interruption. Something stopped. Something altered. Something redirected. As more experts joined the discussion, a pattern emerged not just in the data, but in the behavior surrounding it. Edits made after signatures. Reports uploaded, then quietly replaced. Digital fingerprints wiped with the kind of precision only insiders possess. This wasn't panic. This was control. And control, once exposed, has a way of unraveling fast. Within hours, mirrors of the file appeared everywhere. Attempts to remove it only multiplied its presence. Each deletion was answered with 10 new uploads. The truth, once loosened, refused to be put back into its box. What unsettled people most wasn't the content, it was the confidence behind it. Whoever leaked this knew it would survive. Speculation swirled about the source. A technician who stayed too long after a shift. An assistant who noticed discrepancies no one explained. A superior who signed one document too many and finally broke under the weight of their own handwriting. But the file never claimed a voice. It didn't need one. Late that night, a second upload appeared smaller, quieter, far more devastating. A comparison chart. Left side, the public report. Right side, the internal record. They didn't match. Not in language. Not in timing. Not in cause. And at the bottom, a note appeared for the first time, unencrypted, unhidden, unmistakably human. "You were not meant to see this yet."
Yet.
That single word confirmed what everyone had begun to suspect. This leak wasn't the whole truth. It was only the beginning. A door cracked open on purpose. An invitation rather than an exposé. The narrative had shattered, but the storyteller was still out there, watching as the world finally caught up. And somewhere behind all those files, behind the timestamps and silences, a question waited patiently, rhyming with every unanswered moment that came before it.